Okay, so it's been a while since I've done another deck video. We've done a few now, and I wanted to say a big thank you to everyone which has been supporting the deck builds we've been putting out. We've been getting a lot of love recently, and it's been growing pretty quickly. So just want to say a quick thank you to everyone which has been following along, and I'm excited to show you one of my favorite decks that I've been running. The build I'm running is super consistent, but bear in mind, like every other deck build we do on the channel, it is pure. You're not going to see triple Ash Blossom, triple Infinite Permanence. You're not going to see Borrower Sword. You're not going to see Appaloosa. You're seeing Time Thief monsters, and they're the monsters you're going to see. So the entire archetype is and deck build is going to be as pure as we can keep it, whilst trying to make it as competitive as possible. So if that's your thing, definitely let us know and follow along with the rest of the deck builds we're doing. So to start it off, I'll show you the extra deck. So because it is pure, it's pretty basic, but it's such a fun deck despite being pretty basic. So obviously we start with triple Time Thief Redoer. Redoer is the win condition in the deck. He is single-handedly what lets you get ahead in the game. So as long as you can get Time Thief Redoer on the field, there's a multitude of ways where we can get him the materials he needs. Obviously, he has his own effect where he can get the top card of your opponent's deck and attach it as material, which honestly is the only reason I play this deck. It's just so fun. It's the most unique thing in the card game that I can think of. So I just think it's really fun. But the fact that it can bounce to the top of the deck and it can protect itself by just banishing it and leave the field to prevent destruction or whatever as a quick effect is really good. So obviously Time Thief Redo is going to be a 3. Next is triple Time Thief Perpetua. Perpetua is basically just a means to keep combos going, keep being able to utilize our graveyard to special summon monsters on the field, but also give materials to Redoer, because like I said, Redoer is our win condition, but also gives now materials to Time Thief Double Barrel. Double Barrel is an interesting one. It's the newest of the Time Thief cards. It is definitely the newest in the extra deck. Double Barrel is an interesting one. So it doesn't do what Redoer does, where every standby phase, yours and your opponent's, you can get the top card of your opponent's deck and add it as material. Double Barrel kind of relies on you having to get your own material and attach it to Double Barrel. Double Barrel isn't self-sufficient, so previously, what would happen is Perpetua would really just load up Redoer and just make him huge and always have the materials that you need. But now you're going to have Redoer a little more self-reliant and have Perpetua rely a little more on Time Thief Double Barrel. But if you can get the right materials on Double Barrel is extremely powerful. The fact that he can negate an effect and just steal a monster, just a quick change of heart, is really strong. So definitely run Time Thief Double Barrel. It's extremely cheap. I think it's like $1 at this point. Honestly, this whole Time Thief deck is extremely budget. And that's the best thing about it. The whole set got reprinted in Ghosts from the past, and everything is in ultra rare. So got really lucky. If you're wanting to build Time Thief and you're wanting to build a budget deck, Time Thief is the way to go. So that'll do it for the extra deck. To start off the main deck, the best card in the main deck is Time Thief Winder. Time Thief Winder basically has 2 effects which will just improve consistency in this deck. The fact that on its summon, it can search a Time Thief card, so not just monster, not just spell or trap, but Time Thief card is extremely strong. But the fact that you can also discard material from an Xyz monster you control, like Time Thief Redoer, to special summon itself. So it can just, not only is it a searcher, it's also a combo starter if you've already got something like Time Thief Redoer on the field. So you can go into like a Perpetua or a Double Barrel if that's what you need to go to. So definitely run this at a 3 because it's just so damn consistent and just allows you to keep going into combos, which is extremely strong in this game. The other newest Time Thief card, which is Time Thief Adjuster. The fact that she can special summon herself from the hand is extremely powerful. So if we summon a Winder, which is generally going to be our summon, then we can special summon Time Thief Adjuster from the hand. But if we decide to normal summon Time Thief Adjuster or special summon it by another means, it'll actually get a Foolish Burial effect to send something else, another Time Thief card from the deck to the graveyard, which doesn't sound like much, but is actually extremely strong because there are certain Time Thief cards we want in the graveyard, whether it's a monster or spell or trap. So Time Thief Adjuster definitely run at 3 because it just helps with consistency and setting up future plays. The next monster, which is just so damn good, Time Thief Regulator. Basically, all you're going to be using this for, normal summon it, tribute it to special summon 2 from the deck, and you're always going to be summoning Time Thief Winder because Time Thief Winder is going to get you your search. So that's pretty much the play. We run this at 3 because this is the first card we want to attempt to summon, because it allows us to instantly special summon 2 Time Thief monsters from the deck to instantly go into Redoer or whatever else we need. Just bear in mind, you can't control any other monsters to activate Regulator's effect to tribute itself to special summon 2. So it's generally, we're going first in this build because it's a control deck. We want to be able to set up Redoer ready with the bounce or whatever we need. So open this card in your hand as often as you can. So that's the reason why we run it at 3. Next one we run is 2 copies of Time Thief Bezel Ship. Bezel Ship is okay. Now, the only reason that you'd really want to run it is pretty much because we've got Adjuster. So Adjuster, if you summon Adjuster and get its Foolish Burial effect, you generally, half the time you want to send Bezel Ship to the graveyard, because Bezel Ship can then detach a material from an Xyz monster you control to then special summon itself to the field. So just a combo extender, and it works very well with Time Thief Adjuster. Bezel Ship does also have another effect where you can quick effect tribute this to then attach 1 card from your opponent's graveyard to a Time Thief Xyz monster, which is extremely good, actually, because if your opponent's about to go off and activate a card in the graveyard, we can quick effect the Bezel Ship to just take it. And that's kind of the theme of the deck. The theme of the deck is to really just kind of give Redoer and your Time Thief Xyz monsters all of your opponent's cards as material, which is extremely fun. We run 1 copy of Time Thief Chrono Quarter. Chrono Quarter isn't that great. Honestly, you can tech this out. It's more just we do like to see Time Thief monsters to try and proc Time Thief Adjuster if we can. Because Time Thief Adjuster will only go off if we summon a Time Thief monster. So that's pretty much the only reason it's in here. But you can tech it out if you want. It's not an absolute must. As you can tell, it's the only reason I run it at 1. It can come in handy if we're starting to fall behind. It can special summon itself from the graveyard, but it does get banished when it leaves the field. So I don't advise running Chrono Quarter at more than 1. We run 3 copies of Raid Raptor Strangle Lanius. This card is extremely good because if we control a dark monster, we can special summon Lanius from the hand. So every single card we have in this deck is all dark. Even the extra deck, it's all dark. So Lanius will always be live in the hand when we draw it, which is why I definitely want to run it at 3, but it's also a level 4, so it'll instantly allow us to go into a Time Thief Redoer, Perpetua, or Double Barrel, because these just require level 4 dark monsters. So Strangle Lanius is pretty self-explanatory. Just a free special summon from the hand. It's a level 4. It's a dark. It goes perfectly with this deck. And then lastly, 1 copy of Raider's Wing. Very similar to Strangle Lanius, but we need to detach a material from our Dark Xyz monster to special summon it, which is fine. I have tested this at 2 and 3, and I feel like it just bricks too often. So many of these cards that I just ran through, they're pretty self-sufficient on their own. And they can start going to combos by themselves, whereas Raider's Wing kind of needs you to already have Redoer on the field or a different Xyz monster on the field. So I don't advise running this at more than 2. You can run it at 2, depending on the build. If you want to take it a little more less pure, then you can definitely have a bit more fun with Raider's Wing. But as a pure build, I don't think Raider's Wing is more than a 1-of, in my opinion. But that will do it for the monsters in the main deck. We're going to get started with the spells. 1 copy of Time Thief Hack. Time Thief Hack basically just allows us to beef up our Time Thief Redoer. It does allow us protection where our Time Thief Xyz monsters summon this turn can't be destroyed by card effects, which is really neat. But it pretty much just, the only reason we're going to use it is activate it, target our Time Thief Redoer, it'll gain 300 attack for each material it controls. And if Redoer has any materials that belong to our opponent, it can attack directly this turn. So this actually gets insane if the goal is to beef up Redoer, and Time Thief Hack definitely goes hand in hand with Redoer. But it's not great a lot of the time. It's just going to brick in the hand. So I think you can run 2. I have ran 2 and it has seen success, but definitely don't run at 3 because this card is just going to brick, unfortunately. The next spell we're going to run is a playset of Time Thief Startup. Time Thief Startup is basically just a special summon from the hand. So if we don't open a regulator, we only open the winder or something, we want to, normal summon the winder, get the search, and then whatever we search out, we want to be able to summon. So we'll Time Thief Startup and special summon, say, the Adjuster, for example, if we don't open the regulator, if the regulator gets ashed, something like that. Time Thief Startup is great to just keep the combos going in case we have to play through any interruptions, especially if we're not going first. But Startup does have another effect. We can banish it from the graveyard to then target a Time Thief Xyz monster we control and equip 3 different Time Thief type of cards, so monster, spell, or trap, and equip it to it as material. So this instantly makes Redoer extremely powerful, having the draw power with the spell, the protection with the monster, and the bounce with the trap. But it also allows Time Thief Double Barrel to get all of its materials. So when I said at the start of the video where Double Barrel is more reliant on other cards to kind of get its own materials, Startup definitely is one of those cards to help facilitate and get the cards and the materials that Double Barrel needs. So definitely advise running Startup at 3. Even if you don't plan on using the graveyard effect, it's just essentially a double summon to help us keep making plays. And that graveyard effect will come up quite often. 2 copies of Twin Twisters, pretty standard. If we're going second because our opponent forces us to, this is always handy because we don't want to get solemned. Our Redoer would suck to get solemned. But it's also great if we want to set it on first turn and pass. Would obviously not just pass. That's the whole point of the build, is to actually build a board. But Twin Twist is pretty self-explanatory. 1 copy of Pot of Desires. Because we run so many play sets in the main deck, we can afford to banish 10 face down to draw 2. The fact that we want to have so many cards in the hand at all times just to make sure we're going into the right plays at the right time, Pot of Desires kind of helps with that. If you want to get, say Pot of Prosperity, something like that, then by all means go for it. But Pot of Desires is like $2 and Pot of Prosperity is like 100. So this is, like I said, it's more of a budget build, this one, but you can definitely take this out for something more expensive like a Prosperity. 1 copy of Raigeki, just in case to get rid of those pesty monsters, especially if you're going second. But you can take this out for, some more go first cards, any kind of trap, really, like a Solemn Strike or whatever. 1 copy of Monster Reborn, really just to help us go into those plays. We want to build a board of as many Time Thief Xyz monsters as we need. Monster Reborn just helps us continue to combo. But one of my favorite tech cards, Xyz Import. Basically, quick play spell, you can run it as a trap or you can run it in your turn. Target 1 face-up Xyz monster you control and 1 card your opponent controls. Basically, just take control of that monster and equip it as material as long as our Xyz monster has more attack than that targeted monster. So just really, really good. It's just a card that if your opponent summons something and we have Redoer, we can activate the Xyz Import as a quick play spell, just take control of it so they kind of stops them out of making plays. Can run this at 3. I found 2 was kind of the sweet spot because I found 3 not bricked because it's always kind of live, but there are times where I would rather swap the other copy of Import out for a different monster or spell to help facilitate plays. So I think 2 is the sweet spot in my opinion. For the traps, we're going to go triple Time Thief Retrograde. I adore Retrograde. It's one of my favorite cards in the deck. So when a spell or trap card is activated while you control a Time Thief Xyz monster, negate the activation, and if you do, attach it to your Xyz monster as material. There's no cost for that. You don't have to detach a material from Time Thief Redoer. As long as you control, Redoer, Perpetua, or Double Barrel, it's a free semi-omni negate, like any kind of spell or trap is activated, but it's not just destroyed, you equip it. And the great thing about this is Redoer's best effects are off spell or traps as material. The spell will give him a draw, the trap will give him a bounce at the top of the deck. So Retrograde is extremely good. It's searchable, it's super consistent, it helps with control. I definitely run this at 3, and I've found immense success with it running it at 3. Next card I run is 1 copy of Time Thief Flyback. Basically just allows you to attach a Time Thief card from your deck to a Time Thief Xyz monster you control as material. You can also banish it from the graveyard and target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard and equip it to an Xyz monster we control as material. It is a great card, but the issue I have with it is it's a trap, so we can't get any plays off with it in the first turn, so it doesn't help facilitate combos and building a board. It more just facilitates resource management. But the reason I do run it and like to run it is because of Time Thief Startup. We can banish Startup and equip this from the graveyard to double barrel or redo it. You can run it at 2. I definitely don't advise running it at 3 because it'll just brick far too often. Another tech card is Xyz Block. When your opponent activates a monster effect, detach 1 Xyz material from monster you control. Negate the activation if you do destroy it. And redo or whatever. I keep bringing it out, but the whole deck revolves around redoer, and that's, you can kind of tell from the build, it's to help our win condition. And we've got just insane control. Xyz Block provides us the monster negate. Retrograde provides us the spell or trap negate. And then we've got double barrel, which gives us the monster negate, monster effect negate. And we can also, just change of heart with it. So Xyz Block really goes into the theme of really heavy control, just to help negate as many things as possible. To help with our combos, we're going 3 copies of Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. Brigandine basically is the card we want to open at all times, because if we don't control a trap in the graveyard, we can activate it this turn, basically just special summon it as a Dark level 4 monster, which, you guessed it, will go into any of our Time Thief Xyz monsters. It's the only reason we run 3 is because we definitely want to see it in the hand, but it's absolutely a free monster on the board when we can get it off. Next one we run is single copy of Gozen Match. As you've already seen and what I've mentioned before, every single monster we have in this deck, whether it's a main deck or extra deck, is dark. So we're not affected by Gozen Match at all, but a lot of the times our opponents, if they're playing a bit more meta, they're going to run into issues where they just can't get around Gozen Match. So just a good card to have. Run it at 2 if you like, but you don't want to brick with it because the goal is to combo as much as we can. And to help with our go first strategy, obviously we've got on a playset of Solemns. I always advise running Solemn Strike if you can. Solemn Strike is just the more expensive of all the Solemn cards. It is getting reprinted, which is good potentially. In the, I believe it's the Grand Creators set. I know it got reprinted in OCG, but if you can do it, replace this with Solemn Strike because it's a monster effect negate and a summon negate. But Solemn Warning is good all around anyway. It's a lot cheaper. And it's a crazy board. If we're getting, the Solemn Warning and we've got the Gozen Match and we've got the Xyz Block and then we've got the Retrograde all set, that's a spell or trap negate, a monster effect negate. It locks them a little bit and we've got a summon negate. Not to mention we'll have the bounce with Redo It and we'll have potentially, more monster effect negates with double barrel or a change of heart quick effect. So this deck, once it gets steamrolling, is extremely difficult to deal with. The way I've built it is to be extremely consistent. It's like I said, it's not going to win you any crazy YCS championships. You're not going to come home and with a bunch of prize money, even though I know Konami don't do that. But in a casually competitive format, as you've seen from our previous deck builds, this has seen a lot of success just based on how consistent it is. No matter what our opponent throws at us, we should be able to make a board. And often Redo It is more than enough to kind of get us ahead and start controlling very, very well. And once Redo It starts getting ahead, then we can steamroll very, very quickly with all of our control cards that we have in here, our combo pieces in the monsters, and our additional support with double barrel. it's just an extremely fun deck. And like I said, the most exciting thing about running this is Redoer's Effect, to just snatch the top card of your opponent's deck, attach it to itself as material, and it can be just a deadly combo piece. You know, if you're playing against Rika, for example, they always want to draw into Rika Petal. If this takes Petal, then it can completely stop what their plays were going to be. So very underrated deck, but it's a very, very cheap deck. Everything got reprinted in ultra rare, which is extremely, extremely good for me and anyone that plays Time Thief. But that pretty much wraps up the deck build. If you do have any interesting tech cards that you recommend for this build, definitely let me know. I'm always trying to improve all of my decks, and you guys have been really, really cool and having discussions in the comment section, which I always enjoy. So yeah, definitely let me know if you've got any suggestions, and if you want to see any particular deck builds, let me know. And if Tyler or I got it, or our friend Adam potentially has a deck, I know he's got a Blue Eyes deck and a Shadow deck, we can try to do some deck builds around that as well. So that'll about do it. Thank you.